Welcome everyone to Stadium Journey's Obstructed Views, the show where a couple of guys in a couple of countries have a couple of beers, or more, and discuss a stadium somewhere in the world and their experiences there. I'm Paul.
And I'm Dave.
And we're excited to be here with you again tonight. Before we get started, please make sure to check out the Stadium Journey YouTube channel, subscribe, like the video, leave some comments, like, share, follow, that whole thing. That's how social media works these days, right? And be sure to check out stadiumjourney.com for all of our fantastic comment. So let's get going before we waste too much time. Dave, what are you drinking today?
Well, thanks to you guys, we've got like two things going on up here in Canada. We've got these remnants from the hurricane, and we've got heat. So it's basically hot and wet, and hot and wet. And sometimes more wet than hot, and sometimes more hot than wet. And that's about it. So that definitely means that there's a certain type of, it means there's a certain type of beer that you don't want on a day like today or this time of year. So I'm looking for something a little cleaner, a little crisper, definitely lighter. So went to my LCBO just before those guys went on strike, and I picked myself up a Juiced Seagull Blood Orange Wheat Ale. It's from Cowbell Brewing Company in Blythe, Ontario, which is just this little tiny little town, which probably some guy started in his basement and in the sticks, and got a little bigger or whatever. But hey, it's all good. You can taste. It's got that kind of fresh. I'm not into.
You can taste the seagull.
Morning beers. No, you can't taste the seagull, but you can taste the orange. So not into morning beers, but if I was, this might just be a morning beer. So what do you got?
Like Norm Peterson once said on Cheers, put a cornflake in it. I'm glad you're sitting down for this one, Dave, because I have, for the second episode in a row, an IPA.
Oh, man.
So, I told you how my fridge has suddenly become like your fridge. It's a magic beer fridge.
Yep.
Got home from vacation, and I knew we were going to record today. Looked in to see if I had anything already in there. So if not, I was going to go grab something else, put it in. I already noticed I had a couple cold ones in there. So that means, and it came from a brewery in Cumberland, Rhode Island, which means that my daughter and son-in-law had been by because they live in that area. And it's from a brewery that they have touted on many occasions, Ravenous Brewing. And the beer I have is called Yo Mama IPA. And it's got a kind of 90s Yo Mama Wraps kind of look with the logo. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a lady on the couch there. So, I'm not really an IPA guy. I will if the IPA is kind of on the lighter, crisper side and less on the hoppy side. And this one does fit that bill. So it's one that I would give the old Puckman RI thumbs up because it's not too heavy and too bitter. So, see, it's a kind of IPA I would drink, and so would your mama. And if we were visiting today's destination, we might be drinking a Field of Dreams lager from Hopkins Farm Brewery in Aberdeen, Maryland, because today we're talking about Ripken Stadium, or more formally known as Leidos Field at Ripken Stadium, home of the Aberdeen IronBirds. So before we dive in, let's take a look at the Stadium Vitals. Okay, we're talking about Ripken Stadium in Cal Ripken's hometown of Aberdeen, Maryland. The team is called the IronBirds after, obviously, his Iron Man streak. And, the birds referencing the Orioles. So, obviously, the Ripken family fingerprints are all over this franchise. Is that a good thing, or is it a bad thing? Is it neither?
Well, it's definitely a thing. Let's start with the affiliate. It's the high A affiliate of the Baltimore Orioles, which, of course, fits. Before going here, and again, this is one of those, we need a special asterisk for these episodes of Obstructed Views. These are we actually were at the same place at the same time episodes. So before going to Aberdeen, which we went to as part of Stadium Journey Convention, I had no idea that Cal Ripken Jr. was actually from Aberdeen, or Billy or Cal Sr. or whatever. Uh, the Ripken thumbprint is all over it. It's except that I would say that this is a pretty minimalist experience. Ripken's name is on the stadium, sure. The retired numbers, there's essentially three of them, and they are Cal Senior, Cal Junior, or Cal Senior, Cal Junior, and Billy 378. There are a couple other really odd numbers that are retired, other than Jackie Robinson.
Roberto Clemente was retired here too, wasn't he?
Was that this place?
I might be mixing it up with another place.
I think that might have been a different place where
Okay.
Clemente was retired, but you could be right.
You're seeing Clemente's number more and more, yeah.
Anyway, so they have two numbers that are like 3-digit jobs, and they are badge numbers for local police officers who were killed in the line of duty. So, I mean, that's all fine. That's where it ends. That's it. Inside the stadium, that's it. And it's probably as, simple, kind of old school, just here's your seat, come on out. We'll throw the bats and balls out and gloves and let's just go. There wasn't a ton going on. Almost all of the music was organ music, which I'm assuming was by design. They had the
Was it from an actual organ or was it from a computer?
That's a good question.
I didn't see an organ anywhere there.
I'm not really sure. The ballpark itself is nice enough. It's a more of a modern design. And I'm not sure if this is a testament to just how bad the Orioles have been, because it's very close to Baltimore. The fan support has been excellent at this place. It's been very strong. Now, it's fallen off a bit kind of post-COVID. Maybe coincidentally, maybe not. The Orioles are actually really good. Is that the difference? I'm not really sure. But it's pretty minimalist. There's not like a lot of Cal anything in there. There's his name. There's the retired numbers. They used to have a statue. And our colleague Richard Smith said that the statue looked a little too kind of Hitler-like in the salute that he was giving, I guess. So they kind of moved the statue. So I'm not sure where that statue went. But there was one. And yeah, it was a good experience. It was fun. It was fine, but really, really simple.
And I think very appropriate for the level of baseball that it is. I hadn't been to Ripken Stadium. We just went, earlier, just a few weeks ago in 2024. The last time I had been through there, it was at least a dozen years ago, and I'm thinking closer to 15 years ago. So back then, the team wasn't even in it's in the South Atlantic League now, the High A affiliate. Back then, it was a short season New York Penn League team, the furthest south team in that circuit. I noticed that it was really a lot nicer of a facility this time around. And not that it was drastically different, but there were just little touches that made it look like a more comfortable, welcoming, fun place to be. From the field being field turf now and not natural grass, to some social gathering areas down both foul lines, new coats of paint everywhere. The place looked livelier, and frankly, it was a little dated and run down the last time I saw it. There weren't a whole lot of changes, but yeah, like you said, there's a lot of little touches. I mean, it's got all the standard stuff that you expect in a smaller stadium, the well-stocked team store and the concession stands on either side. Some of the things that I was remembering, our colleague Richard Smith was there, so I was peppering him with questions. What happened to this? What happened to this? What happened to this? One of the things that it was originally known for when it first opened was that one of your concession options or one of your group options was that you could do a crab feast. And if you've ever spent any time in Maryland, you know Baltimore and the Chesapeake Bay area are known for crabs. And you could do a giant crab boil. They put 1,000 crabs in a big bucket, boil them all to death, and then they don't serve them to you nicely on a plate. They dump the whole damn thing with all their Old Bay seasonings and all the stuff they put in there with the water and the crabs, and they dump it all on a big picnic table that's covered with a, what's that orange paper called? I don't know what it's called. Whatever.
Like butcher paper?
Yeah, like butcher paper. And you just go to town on it with your little hammer and you smack all the crabs open, you crack them open, and eat all the stuff. They used to be you could get that at the ball game. And at first, when the team first started back around 2000-ish, that was all the raves there. But Richard let us know they don't really do that much anymore. I think maybe a couple times a year because it's just too expensive. And I guess they weren't getting enough business.
Yeah, so, I understand that, but that's very cool. The alter ego, it seems like everybody's got an alter ego in the minor leagues, and they are the Aberdeen steamed crabs. Their food alter ego. I was a little surprised by the turf. It's not just turf infield, turf outfield. It's turf base paths. The mound is dirt. The catching, like home plate area, is dirt, but it's turf all for the rest of the way. So, whoever's doing the laundry for Aberdeen must be happy. And I would be remiss in saying that, and not saying that, we do have a little bit of experience with Aberdeen sort of outside, in that the book Clubby was written about the Aberdeen IronBirds, and the author, whose name escapes me,
who was a former guest on the Stadium Journey podcast,
Greg Larson.
Greg, yeah.
He was the clubhouse attendant for the Aberdeen IronBirds, and
for 2 seasons.
2 seasons, yeah. And wow, that was a pull back of the curtain, wasn't it?
It surely was. It was a good read. If any of you are looking for a baseball book to read on the inner workings of someone in I don't want to say an insignificant role, because anybody who's ever been around a ball team knows the clubhouse attendant may be one of the most important persons in an organization. But like you said, stuff that happens behind the curtain. He really pulled back the curtain and let us know a lot of stuff.
Bygone era, because a lot of that has changed.
Yeah.
I would say, though, this place, it needed more to me. And one question I asked right away. This is one of the only minor league parks I've ever been in where I couldn't tell you one player who played for this team. There was not one poster of any former player who had gone up to the majors. And that's a staple for minor league baseball.
And especially an affiliate that is located 40 miles from the parent club.
And all of the guys now who have come up, like, can you imagine this team, like about 5 years ago, must have been amazing, right? Mm-hmm. Like all these guys who are in the show now who have come up through the Baltimore system and kind of passed through here, but not a mention of one of them. Like really the only mention of any players were Ripkens. And that was I was a little disappointed in that. They have won 2 championships. There are 2 banners in an odd spot. They're more behind the plate than kind of out in the outfield where you would expect them. But yeah, nobody. And I think the other thing I said was there is no reference to airplanes anywhere. There's no airplane sound effects. There's no airplane anything. Which when I mentioned that, you had said to me, well, it's IronBird, Ripken, the Iron Man, and the birds are the Orioles, whatnot. But the title sponsor, the naming rights holder, is an aviation company.
And I believe the Aberdeen Proving Grounds is, I know anyone from the area who watches this is going to crucify me for not knowing this, but I think that has to do with Air Force training. So
there's a lot of things that they could do. It gets me a little worried for them that it just seems almost lazy. Right? they're the big promotion arm that you see so many other places just isn't there. It's not this wheel, it's literally let's throw the gloves out and the balls, the bats, and let's play. Let's
Do
go.
you do you think that's because it's so close to Baltimore? They don't need to do that extra kind of promotion?
I think part of it is that they've been so successful at the turnstile they haven't had to. And maybe that's a bit of a change. Now, is the Maryland baseball fan a purist? Do they want like the old time everything? Well, I don't know. Like that their attendance has dropped off significantly. So like now their attendance in 2022 was 10th in the South Atlantic League. That's not where they were, 5 years ago or pre-COVID or whatever. So I think
Well, part of that, and I'm sorry to jump in there. Part of that may be the longer season because
could be.
they were a short season team. So the thing about the short season teams is you don't have those games in April where the weather's lousy and you get 300 fans. So that might have something to do with it.
Could be. Could be. Now, I think there's another piece that kind of and I am selling it short because if you look at it from maybe an even bigger standpoint and not just the minor league stadium, there's a lot more going on that maybe you wouldn't, it wouldn't affect you. Maybe me as my youngster is playing. There are a lot of youth baseball diamonds around that are really kind of cool. They're all designed after, big league stadiums.
Yep.
So there's a Memorial Stadium, there's a Yankee Stadium, there's a Fenway, there's a
Wrigley Field,
there's a PNC, and the hotel that they have over there kind of looks like the warehouse, like on Utah Street in Baltimore.
Yep, and that's all right across the street from Ripken Stadium. There's the hotel. I don't know what brand it is, so I will not pitch a different brand. And behind the hotel are the dozen or so. I believe they're for the Cal Ripken League, which would make sense.
It is. There's two. There's a Courtyard and a Residence Inn, which I think are both run by the same people.
Yeah, they are.
But for like hosting a tournament or whatever, and then then the kids get the opportunity to play in the bigger stadium at the end, say for your championship or whatever. Hey, that's a pretty neat
it's a pretty
neat drawing card.
Absolutely.
That you have there. Of course, the flip side is there's no neighborhood to speak of. It's really way out there in the nowheres of, like, you're not walking anywhere. There's a golf course, there's a highway, I-95.
Yep. I mean, the convenience of where the stadium is located is great. It's right off of I-95. Like you said, the drawback is if you need to go somewhere to get a bite to eat before or after the game, you got to get in your car and go there.
Yeah, you're getting in the car. You could go to Chaps. Beef.
I was going to mention Chaps on this show because if you go to one place in the city of Aberdeen, I don't know much about Aberdeen, despite living down in Maryland for a little while when I was in college. Probably a whole lot less in Aberdeen back in my day, but if you go to Aberdeen, you must stop at Chaps Pit Beef. The original Chaps is in downtown Baltimore, kind of a sketchy area. So if you want to just go to a nice, clean, brand new one, the Aberdeen has one in a strip mall about a mile from the stadium. And what is pit beef, you may ask? Well, it's beef. It's their version of like barbecue beef. It's slow roasted. If you've ever been to Oriole Park and you've had boogs, that's pit beef or pit turkey. Or they have beef, turkey, ham, sausage, all different kinds of meats. Slow roasted, and just one of my favorite places. Whenever we're passing through the area, we have to stop at Chaps.
Now, do you think that part of the issues that they've had or that they've moved to this new league, like, is that you
Do
know,
you think they're having issues, or it's just an adjustment period? Because this is only the third or fourth season of this thing. When we went there, it was a really good crowd. It was a Friday night, so I don't think they're having problems drawing now. And with most of these teams, especially in the Northeast, where April is just miserable weather and May can be shaky, it really doesn't hit its stride until school lets out. Until mid-June or so. So, are they having issues? I don't know. I'd have to dive deeper into the numbers to know that. I just know that when we were there the other day, it was really good. Another option for my first visit there, they have this little area right behind home plate that has its own little concession stand, and it's the all-you-can-eat section. So you can go there, and we were lucky enough when we were waiting in line for tickets. There was a dad and his little boy who had a bunch of tickets. I think they had them for the whole family, but they were the only ones who went. They saw us in line, and the little kid just said, "Hey, would you like 2 tickets?" So we're like, "Sure." Went in, and it's like, "Hey, these are all-you-can-eat section tickets." So we got our $0 money worth. That's for sure that night.
Yeah. I mean, I like the design of the place. It's, it's smart looking on the outside. They've got,
But you know what? It's your
some
red brick
covered
green seats.
what was that?
It's your red brick green seat stadium, though.
Yeah, that's true. And even more with like minor leagues, they've got, you got your picnic area and you got your berm seating and you got, it's just about everything. They don't have the 360,
Right.
which is probably, I think it's something they probably could do, but they're just not there. And, whether you're going to invest in it or in the stadium or not. Yeah, it's, I feel like there's a next step that these guys could take to really push it over the edge and to recognize, hey, we've been here for, 2 decades and we've won 2 championships. And even if I mean, you don't have to have like a big, huge, life-size picture of Adley Rushman or whatever. A simple list, like as somebody who likes to hunt those treasures or whatever, just a list of these are the guys that have made it to the majors. Hey, there's that guy and there's that guy.
Which you're right, Dave. You find those in almost every minor league
Almost
ballpark
every.
across
And
the
then,
country.
and you go to a really old place that's been around forever, and then that list is massive, or one that's been with multiple different affiliates, and you're like, oh my gosh, here's the era for this team, and then suddenly it switches to this team, and suddenly it switches to this team, right? And it's just something that I think you really need to do to kind of bring people in. I get that, minor league baseball is not necessarily about the players. It's about kind of the experience. It's about the fun, the family, etc. But you want to just bring in as many people as you can. And even when you have, like a season ticket holder who has been there and seen that and listened to that song in that inning every game, to give them something to do. I'm going back to the list, or I'm going something to explore. Right? That's what I think.
Mm-hmm.
And the sound of like some Top Gun sound effects couldn't hurt either.
Sure. But overall, a very enjoyable experience for the lower half of the minors. So that's our look at Ripken Stadium in Aberdeen, Maryland, and the IronBirds game day experience. Thanks for joining us. We hope to see you on the road again real soon. Cheers.
Cheers.